Imagine this as a real gun, and I'm aiming at your head. I'm going to shoot because the doctor I mentioned earlier, I killed her. In the movie, the armed forces of Wenmar are conducting military exercises in an abandoned factory. However, the intrusion of a mysterious character has turned this factory into a graveyard for soldiers. The scene shifts to a convenience store employee and a girl named Zan Kai living together in a small town. These two cousins often go to a restaurant to have meals and watch movies together. One day, while the man was working at the convenience store, his head suddenly recalled images from the past. At night, he frequently dreams of scenes where he is killing someone. The next day, he goes to the hospital to meet a psychiatrist and tells her about his dreams. In his dreams, he kills one person after another, and what's more, he doesn't feel panicked. Instead, he finds it fascinating. After returning, Tanjiro takes Zan Kai to visit his friend Ken. Ken, who saved Tanjiro's life in the past, is now paralyzed and dependent on others due to complete loss of mobility and blindness. On the way back, Tanjiro senses something amiss and advises Zan Kai to go home first. As he turns his head, the entire world seems to shrink suddenly, and the man hiding in the crowd reveals himself. At this moment, someone in the crowd points a gun at Tanjiro's back. Tanjiro pauses for about 2 seconds, then swiftly turns around, grabs the gun, and kills the person. Tanjiro dodges the bullets while eliminating the assassin hiding in the crowd. He also disassembles the gun, combining it with a pen to create a simple bullet knife. After dealing with the assassin, Tanjiro goes to the store to find Zan Kai, maintaining a calm and unaffected expression. Meanwhile, an employer named Phantom summons 3 top-tier assassins and another master assassin, instructing them to assassinate Tanjiro. It appears that the assassin in the crowd earlier is under the command of Phantom. Late at night, Tanjiro and Zan Kai go to the rice restaurant as usual. While watching TV, the signal gets disrupted. Tanjiro seems to notice something, so he asks the owner to look after Zan Kai. He claims to have forgotten some things and needs to go home for a bit. Walking through a narrow alley, Tanjiro unexpectedly encounters the first ambush of the assassins. However, facing Tanjiro, these assassins seem like chicks thrown into a boiling pot. They falter at Tanjiro's preparedness. Back at the store, Tanjiro turns on the microwave to heat up a quick meal. The second ambush is by an assassin disguised as a maintenance worker. As expected, this assassin is also swiftly dealt with by Tanjiro. While Tanjiro gives the assassin a ticket to the conveyor belt hotpot, the food finishes cooking. Shortly after, 2 young individuals enter the store. They are the ones Tanjiro called for help. Tanjiro asks them to assist with disposing of the body, while he goes outside to call Zan Kai. As Zan Kai picks up the phone, a female assassin tailing her suddenly attacks. Inside the phone booth, there is a brief struggle, and the other assassin is eventually subdued. On the other side, the 2 individuals Tanjiro called have finished dealing with the body. They discuss Tanjiro's situation. It turns out Tanjiro was once an assassin with the alias Phantom. Phantom is the leader of the assassin organization Tanjiro used to work for. However, Tanjiro despised Phantom for brainwashing children to build a killing organization. He took drastic action, wiping out the entire organization and sparing only Phantom's life. The final master assassin reveals himself, named API-01. A few days before the current events, Tanjiro had targeted the entire organization, and API-01 is the last surviving member. API-01 understands Tanjiro well, as they were former comrades. They share many similarities but differ in their ultimate goals. Summing up, Tanjiro represents the righteous sunlight, while API-01 embodies the dark and venomous night. Tanjiro receives both good and bad news. Zan Kai has been captured by Phantom, but Tanjiro now knows Phantom's hideout thanks to a tracking device on Zan Kai. In reality, Zan Kai is the child Tanjiro had rescued and run away with years ago. After equipping themselves with weapons, Tanjiro and his 2 comrades prepare for battle. Following the plan, Tanjiro will draw the attention of the enemy, while the other 2 will encircle Phantom's hideout from the right. Then, Tanjiro executes a fierce and coordinated attack. True to his alias, Tanjiro moves like a phantom, appearing and disappearing mysteriously among the enemy soldiers. He swiftly incapacitates his opponents without leaving a trace. His hands move with precision, decisively and cleanly eliminating foes, leaving no evidence behind. Tanjiro's actions seem almost divine, as if he is a deity determining their fates. Everywhere he goes, traces of blood linger in his wake. Have Tanjiro's protection. Not long after, 2 teammates approached Phantom's lair. However, the enemy faction was too numerous for the 2 of them to defeat. Tanjiro and the 2 of them teamed up to face life and death. In the end, of the 2, only Mark survived. Tanjiro let Mark go first and he continued to follow behind to deal with the enemy. The 2 finally entered Phantom's lair. The space here is very gloomy and dark. This is a perfect place for Tanjiro to develop his martial arts. Tanjiro successfully took care of all the thugs and found Zan Kai. He entrusted the girl to Cho Mark to take care of while he rushed out and decided to fight a life and death battle with the Phantom. him. The enemy was like a swarm of broken bees constantly rushing out to attack him. It was at this moment that a mysterious man whose entire body was covered appeared. He faced Tanjiro. The two of them teamed up to deal with the soldiers in front of them. The two people have a tacit understanding. They are like lifelong friends. This is none other than API-01. Welcome Tanjiro to the Endless Plains. This is a battle between API-01 and Tanjiro, so he doesn't want anyone else to get involved. After the other soldiers were defeated, API and Tanjiro quickly entered a true duel state. Neither of the two people directly attacked first, but instead hid in the darkness to surprise the other. After all, both of their skills are very good and they understand each other very well. API finally stepped forward to break this gloomy scene, but the sneak attack failed. Next, because of comradeship, they do not want to wrest any benefits from the other person. Just playing cat and mouse like that is of course not the way. API quickly came up with a solution. One hand holds a flashlight and the other holds a dagger to fight Tanjiro. Not long after, he was beaten to a pulp by API without any resistance. Tanjiro decisively closed his eyes and focused only on using his ears to judge API's location. At this moment, API held the dagger tightly and rushed in front of Tanjiro. He was preparing to give Tanjiro a ticket home every full moon when he did not expect that Tanjiro used his hand to hold the knife tightly. The next second, he opened his eyes and punched away API's newly purchased muzzle and gave him an affectionate cheek caress that made API tremble with joy. Tanjiro took advantage of the victory and rushed forward. Then he held API's hand tightly and sang the song, "I Won't Return This Spring." One shot broke his arm. Next, he gave his old teammate more love. A typical example is giving API a strong punch in the chest. Tanjiro coughed up blood while lighting a cigarette. He had just finished calling Zan Kai when he saw the Phantom standing in front of him. At this time, although Tanjiro was seriously injured, the Phantom was not much better. He was seriously ill and knew he didn't have much longer to live. He knew full well that his old, sick body would definitely not be able to compete with Tanjiro. He directly manipulated Tanjiro's psychology. Eyes looked at the dagger. Not long after, it was pressed against Tanjiro's neck. Tanjiro immediately regained consciousness and made a cut in the middle of Phantom's neck. Unfortunately, his neck was also cut by Phantom's knife. Finally, Tanjiro and Phantom both fell to the ground. At the end of the movie, Zan Kai goes to the desert where Tanjiro once took her and buries the book he gave her. Zan Kai promised himself that he would live well on his own in the future. She just left without looking back. A man was smoking and silently watching her. In the end, is this person Tanjiro or not? Perhaps this is an open ending or a curious suspense that the director leaves us with. The movie has ended. Thank you for watching the entire movie with me. See you again in the next movies. Hello and see you again.